My beautiful, gorgeous psychic sister, how are you?
My gorgeous partner in true crime. I'm fucking fantastic. How the fuck are you?
I'm so great. I'm so excited for New Orleans. We are less than 2 weeks away.
Yes.
I can basically taste the beignets in my mouth already.
I'm salivating. Correct.
Fuck yes. Guys, if you don't know, we're going to New Orleans. Less than 2 weeks, October 3rd and 4th. You should join us for our very first ever live show in the most haunted city in America. Get your tickets at anotherfuckinghorrorpodcast.com. We're also doing a ghost vampire true crime tour with French Quarter Phantoms. And we did a special Patreon episode with Luke Andrew, who is the tour manager for French Quarter Phantoms, which you can find on our Patreon to get you into the spooky season mood and get you psyched up for New Orleans. You can find all of that at anotherfuckinghorrorpodcast.com. Check that shit out because it's going to be amazing. And I'm so excited. Oh my God.
Yes. I'm so excited. He gave us so many good, like, little teaser stories, and I'm here for it.
Yes. Oh my God.
I'm gonna see a ghost, Monique. That is, it's happening. I can feel it.
I want that for you. I love that.
I know you do.
Let's do it, girl. I'm into it. I'm into it. Oh my God.
I can't wait. If it's gonna happen anywhere, it's gonna happen in New Orleans.
100%.
Let's fucking go. I'm ready.
I think even if you don't see a ghost, something spooky is going to happen for sure. It has to.
Oh, I'm down. Oh my God. If I meet an alien in New Orleans, I'll lose it. I'll just, I could die happy. Just bury me in New Orleans. It's fine.
Next to Nicolas Cage's grave.
Oh my God.
That's not a joke. He 100% has a tomb there that you can go see on the cemetery tour. And it's the most Nicolas Cage thing that's ever Nicolas Cage that's ever Nicolas Cage.
It looks like it's straight out of a National Treasure.
100%. So if you come visit us in New Orleans or join us in New Orleans, you should also check out Nicolas Cage's grave because why not?
Even though he's not dead. Just to reiterate.
I was just going to say, and then it's fun when you tell your friends that. They're like, wait, Nicolas Cage died? And you're like, no. It's great.
I'm so excited. Have you watched anything? Got any good recommendations?
I have started listening to a podcast that my jaw lifts on the floor, and it is gripping. It's called Wisecrack. So every year in Edinburgh, Scotland, they do the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, where performers from all over the world, you have to like submit and then you're accepted, and performers from all over the world come for this period of time of the Fringe to perform. And sometimes like producers go to like scout out acts to like sign them or turn them into like, you know, give them like an off-Broadway contract or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it's like plays and comedians and all kind of stuff. And basically any nook and cranny in Edinburgh, like a broom closet will be an event space. Like they completely transform the town to create as many event spaces as possible. And basically this woman who is like a true crime TV producer, American true crime TV producer, is in Edinburgh. And as Scotland's going to Scotland, it's like pouring cats and dogs outside. So she like just ducks into this like space to kind of like get away from the rain, pays whatever, you know, a fucking nickel or whatever the fuck, whatever's much cheaper than everything in the United States, to just kind of get away from the rain. And there's this comedian telling a story, and it's about the scariest night of his life.
Okay.
But it's a comedy show, and it's gripping. And I don't want to spoil it at all, but basically by the end of it, your jaw's on the fucking floor. And then the TV producer was like, I'm sorry, was that like real? So she's like hunting down this guy to find out information about this incident. Is it actually true? Did it happen? Because he changed the names and like distanced himself enough that it was kind of hard to find out on your own.
Okay.
And he like she wanted him to talk to him. It was like a whole it's like, I'm not explaining it well. Don't fucking listen to me. Just listen to it. It's called Wisecrack.
But it is true.
It is true.
Okay.
It is true. And it's fucking crazy. And it's released by Tenderfoot, I believe. So if you subscribe to Tenderfoot, you can listen to all of the episodes now. If not, it's being dropped weekly. I think it's like 3 episodes of 5 or 6 have been dropped so far. It is riveting. Cannot recommend enough. Wisecrack.
I'm so intrigued. Okay. I'll check this out.
And also, I met one of our lovely fans, Allison.
Oh,
Hey, girl, you're a joy and a delight.
hi, Allison. How did that happen?
One of my regulars came in and was like, I introduced my sister to your podcast last year, and she's like a really big fan. She's coming in, so she's kind of freaking out a little bit. I was like, oh, okay. So she came in and was very sweet and excited to meet me. And the bar was kind of full that other people saw the interaction and saw a reaction to me. That people were like, does this happen frequently? I was like, it does sometimes. But she was so sweet and kind and lovely. And it was so lovely to meet you, Allison. And I hope to see you again at some point soon. Maybe at a live show. Come on down.
Aw, I love that. Yeah, come to New Orleans. I want to meet you.
Yes, exactly. Amy's missed out, so you got to come.
It's for my life here.
What about you? Any recs? Anything you're watching?
I watched the new Netflix documentary, true crime documentary, Unknown Number. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see that. Yeah, I called it.
Did you? Okay. I had it spoiled for me before I went into it, so I didn't really have a choice. But yeah, if you can go into it blind, definitely recommend that, because the whole first half of the documentary, I was like, this is a lot of leading us in the incorrect direction here.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's a huge misdirection, but it's also like the audacity for the perpetrator to appear on the documentary just shows what a raging fucking narcissist they are.
Correct.
It's
fucking
wild.
Insane.
Because I called it kind of early, but I was like, no, it can't be, because they wouldn't be here talking to us. Right, meow.
They wouldn't be interviewing this person. Correct.
No, girl, I'm a dumb bitch. Of course this person was.
Insane.
Yes.
Only an insane person would do this.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was wild, though.
And it was like, what, like 2 years, basically? 18 months, something like that?
Yeah.
The fuck?
And just like, I just can't even imagine recovering from that.
No.
And just like continuing on with my life after finding that information out.
You're like, but I'm sorry, though.
No.
No, girl. And girl, there were so many flames on the side of my face watching this.
Yes. I feel like the cops did not explain what happened well.
No. Definitely
to
not.
The girl.
No.
When the revelations came out. I was like, I feel like no one's actually explicitly saying
XYZ, yeah. Mm-hmm.
In a way that
this
like
is the person who has done this to you.
Yes, that is getting across the gravity of what this was. We're like kind of pussyfooting around it.
The person who ruined your life and terrorized your life, it's this person, by the way.
Yeah.
No, they did not.
Wild. Anyway, check it out. It was insane. I was not prepared for that.
Yeah. People are fucking nuts. I don't understand why, but they fucking are. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Collective sigh.
It's just it. Yeah. Seriously, though.
Girl.
And then, yeah, after that, I started watching the new season of Great British Bake Off because I needed a palate cleanser.
Understood.
And that's always a nice, lighthearted watch. It was Johnny's birthday. We went to the Hot Sauce Expo.
How was that?
It was great. Lots of good hot sauces. Lots of good snacks, like hot sauce themed things. Yeah, there were a couple moments where I was like panting and just like salivating nonstop. And I was like, all right, I need to like take a little break. My head is on fire right now.
See, that doesn't seem like a remotely enjoyable experience for me. I don't understand hot sauce.
That's fair. That's fair. I like it, but I have a limit. Like, I don't want to just hurt myself for the sake of hurting myself. I want there to be flavor. I definitely sat out a few that Johnny and Nico tried instead that I was glad I took a pass on because they were very clearly like dying afterwards. My best find from it was chocolate covered spicy popcorn.
Oh,
which was
so many flavors.
phenomenal. Yes. It's great. I'm very upset it's not something I can probably buy in stores. So I have to wait till next year.
And you can't, didn't have like a website or something?
I guess I could have it shipped to me.
Yeah.
What can't I have shipped to me?
There you go.
Solving problems, Monique. I love it.
I try.
I was very sad they didn't have my favorite thing from the last time I went, which was, to be fair, 10 years ago now.
Oh,
I think
wow.
was the first time we ever went. And they had spice cream that year, which was like spicy ice cream. It was so fucking good. I'm so mad it didn't catch on and that like never seen this anywhere else. And yeah, they weren't back this year. So RIP spicy ice
Aw.
cream. I know. Womp womp.
I'm glad you had a good time, though.
Thank you. I did. It was a blast. But that's it. That's all for my exciting week. Just getting ready for New Orleans, baby.
Sounds good. I mean, then on that note, I think we got to dive into the spookies.
Let's dive into the spookies. So this one isn't scary, but it's very fascinating to me and very what the fuck. And I've thought about it a lot since I first heard it. And I feel like this is a nice little palate cleanser before spooky season really kicks off.
Okay.
So, sources. My favorite, Otherworld, episode 115, Wikipedia, prs.org, ucf.edu, and connectparanormal.net. Alexandra, who goes by Alex, is an artist and musician who grew up in Georgia. Since it's in the heart of the Bible Belt, religion was everywhere, and there was a church on every block. Her mom even worked for a Southern Baptist church when she was a kid. But despite that, it seems as though her family is not necessarily religious per se, and Alex said they didn't really talk about their beliefs. But as for the paranormal, Alex said she always believed in something. According to Alex, the women on her mom's side of the family were all connected in an unexplainable way. She admits there are probably a lot of people who have these kind of experiences, especially with their mothers, but she believes her mom has some sort of gift. Although she doesn't think her mom would call it that necessarily. One time that sticks out to her, though, is when she was a senior in high school, a couple of months before prom. She was looking online for a vintage Gunny Sacks dress.
Fuck yeah. I love Gunny Sacks.
I am not familiar with that. I had to look it up.
It's like before your time. It's before my time. It's from like the 60s and 70s.
Okay. They're cute. I liked them, but I legitimately thought that was like a style or like a cut of dress. I didn't realize it was the brand name.
It's a
of the
brand.
dress.
Yeah. And it's a juniors brand. Yeah. So I have one that like doesn't fit because I'm not a junior. I'm an adult woman. So, but they're really beautiful.
Yeah, they're very pretty. So yeah, I learned something new. I was not familiar with this. She was browsing Etsy on her computer, one her mom never used, and she came across a dress that looked exactly like her mother's wedding dress. It wasn't the exact same one because her mom still had hers, but it was identical. Alex went into her mom's room and said, "You won't believe what I found." And without missing a beat, her mom looked at her and said, "My wedding dress." Alex had no idea how her mom had known and said they were both so freaked out that she remembers them both actually crying because it was so weird. Alex said, quote, "I wonder if this thing that we can do kind of makes us open to other things," end quote.
Mm-hmm. Spoiler, yes. Yes, it does.
Yes. Something's going on there, girl. And according to her, weird things would happen at her mom's house, like it was haunted. And these things ramped up considerably once her dad moved to Vegas and her sister left for college. But she didn't go into any more detail. She was just like, yeah, the house is haunted. Moving on to this other story.
BT dubs.
Yeah, casual. So in 2021, Alex decided to move to LA. Since she was a creative person, she decided she wanted to try living somewhere where there was a creative scene. It was during the pandemic, which she admits was a strange time to move to a big city. But the longer the pandemic went on, the more she thought she might never get the chance to move to LA. So as soon as she had the opportunity, she decided to go for it. She didn't really have a plan, but for some reason, she wasn't nervous about that at all, and just had this feeling that everything would work out. Alex ended up getting a job working at the bookstore of the Philosophical Research Society, which was right across the street from her apartment. The PRS is a nonprofit organization founded in 1934 by scholar and prolific author Manly Palmer Hall to promote the study of the world's wisdom literature, philosophy, comparative religion, mysticism, and metaphysics. Located at 3910 Los Feliz Boulevard in Los Angeles, the PRS campus includes an auditorium, bookstore, lecture room, art gallery, and research library with over 50,000 volumes. PRS was a place Alex had been into even before she moved to LA, and felt that all of this lining up so perfectly was a little bit odd. Before this, she'd been living in rural Tennessee, so it was a good job to have to acclimate to being around people again. In her free time, she would quilt and do whatever art she could without a full studio, since she just had her apartment. So she would quilt, do watercolor paintings, things like that. And whenever she was working on a project, she would get into what she called a, quote, zone of creativity, end quote, especially with quilting, where she would enter almost a trance-like state. She felt like she was on autopilot and would be so focused on doing these same precise, repetitive actions over and over again that it would start to feel like time stopped moving the way that it normally does.
That's what is known as a flow state.
Oh, that's nice. I was like, is this the hyperfixation I know very well?
Yeah, I mean, yes, but as people who, are like neurodivergent and probably are aware, starting things can be really, 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 really difficult. But like
Yes.
when you do, then it's like 10 hours and you have like time hasn't passed, you've done all
Yep.
this shit and you're just like in the fucking zone. And that is what is referred to as flow state.
Yes. You're like, don't talk to me.
Or it's even like if you're talking to me, I'm not even fucking paying attention because I'm like in it.
Yeah. I'm like, uh-huh. Okay, cool. Sure.
Yeah, I used to work at this job that I fucking hated at this office, and I would get into these like zones of like, okay, I'm doing all this work, and my boss, who is like the epitome of hey boomer, would come in every 20 minutes to like interrupt me over stupid shit. Like I pressed a button and the screen went away. I don't know how to open a PDF, and I'd be like, you're
Oh my
fucking up my
God.
flow of the boatloads of work I have to do for you because you don't understand how like what time management is. So it's not actually possible for me to do the work in the amount of time
Yes.
that you're giving anyone to do. And then on top of that, you're interrupting me every 20 minutes. Like, fuck you. But yeah, that's it, it is a thing. And there's like practices you can do to like try and access flow state more easily than like be to its, to its whims.
Interesting.
Like meditating or things like doing repetitive motions like quilting or crocheting or stuff like that. That it kind of like you get in a zone that it can, yeah.
I can totally relate to this. You know, I love a craft,
Yeah,
so
girl.
can definitely get focused on that. When this experience took place, Alex had had a few days off of work and had been quilting basically nonstop during that time. She'd been hyper focused on her project and gotten into what she called a weird space. She had to work at the bookstore that night and wasn't looking forward to it, since sometimes it was hard to be around people after this trance like state. They had an event scheduled, and everyone who attended would have to walk through the bookstore, so she knew she was going to be around a lot of people. It was getting closer and closer to the time she had to leave, and she was just hoping that something would manifest that would let her stay home and quilt. Which, girl, if this is not the realest thing I've ever heard, like, too relatable to me.
I feel that's so hard.
Yes, like, please let this show get rained out so I can stay home and do some
Yep.
Legos. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's my fucking jam. And Alex said, because, quote, you can't call out of work to quilt, end quote.
Sadly.
Yes, unfortunately, and I feel you. Yes. Like, hey, I'm like kind of trucking along here. Like, this quilt needs me. Sorry.
Yeah.
She said she even prayed while she was in the shower that she wouldn't have to go in or that they wouldn't need her for some reason and she could go back home at the last minute. Knowing that was unlikely, she resigned herself to having to work and continued to get ready. She got dressed, put on makeup, grabbed her things, and walked over to the bookstore. As she approached, she noticed the gate was closed, which wasn't that unusual. But as she got to the gate and looked in, there was nobody there. It was completely closed, which Alex said had never happened before. If something was canceled, she would have gotten an email about it and it would still be listed on their events calendar. It would just be crossed off. She checked her emails, but there was nothing about the event that night. and there was nothing on the calendar. When she checked her physical planner, though, she still had the event written down. She said it didn't make any sense. Things would get canceled occasionally, but it would have been mentioned in a staff meeting or an email. There would be some record of it. But she couldn't find anything. Quote, "It was just gone. It was almost like the event never existed." End quote. Alex was obviously confused, but more than that, she was just really relieved that she didn't have to work,
Yeah.
just like she'd hoped and prayed for. Yes, she's like, thank God it worked. I get to go home and finish my quilt.
Fuck yeah.
She was so happy that she could go back home and keep quilting. She walked back to her apartment and immediately got back into her pajamas and went to take off her makeup. After she washed her face, she leaned really close to the mirror to check her skin, as many people do. She was leaning over the sink, only an inch or so away from the mirror, when suddenly she wasn't in her bathroom anymore. She was standing in some sort of void with darkness expanding in all directions.
What the fuck?
Just nothingness. Girl, this story is so fucking weird, and I don't know what to think about it, and I don't have an explanation. I just can't stop thinking about it. It's insane. Alex said it reminded her of a warehouse where she used to live, how the light would just disappear into the darkness because it was such a big space. She had no idea where she was, but she wasn't scared. She was just wondering where she was and how she got there. She didn't feel like she'd fainted. She'd experienced that before and knew what it felt like, but this didn't feel like losing consciousness. It felt like she was in a different realm. She could look around and could see her hands, so it wasn't like she was having an out-of-body experience. She was actually there, wherever there was. Then she noticed that about 20 feet in front of her was a mirror. It was a perfect, kind of ornate-looking mirror. It wasn't hanging on a wall. It was just suspended in the darkness. Alex said it definitely wasn't her bathroom mirror. This one was way more ornate. She could see it clearly, so she knew it must be illuminated by some sort of light, the same one that allowed her to see her hands, but there was no light source that she could see. Then she noticed that there were two people standing next to the mirror, facing away from her and looking into the mirror. She was just quietly observing them, but felt uncomfortable, like she was intruding in their space. Then they turned and looked at her, almost as if they could feel her watching them. They were clearly surprised to see her, but they weren't mad, just like, oh, someone's here. And they waved her over to join them in front of the mirror. As she walked over to them, she realized she wasn't scared at all. The couple clearly didn't seem to mind her being there and seemed comfortable being in this weird space. But Alex was still very confused and curious about where they were and what was going on. As she got closer to them, she saw that it was an older Asian couple. She guessed they were probably in their 60s or 70s, but there was no gray in their hair. They were wearing just regular clothes, like you'd run errands in, and they had very friendly, calm expressions on their faces. They were both smiling at her, but not in a scary way at all. Alex said they just seemed really friendly and almost felt like someone's grandparents. There was seemingly nothing out of the ordinary about them. Quote, "They look like somebody you had just passed on the sidewalk," end quote. Which was shocking in and of itself because this place seemed so otherworldly, but they looked so normal. And Alex got the impression that they were there purposefully somehow. As she got closer to the mirror, which seemed to be where the light was focused, she said she could physically feel the light and that it felt really, really good, almost like it was healing. She and the couple were all standing in front of the mirror under the light. She remembers putting her hands to her face and telling them how incredible the light felt. Quote, "I could feel it all the way to my bones. It was just like this, like healing light was washing over me," end quote. She said it's hard to describe because how do you explain what it feels like to heal? And she had no idea that that's even what it was doing. But she felt like the light gave her a euphoric kind of feeling, and her body felt good. Although she hadn't really been afraid before, she was the furthest thing from scared once she felt the light. She didn't care about how she got to this place or where she was. She was just blown away by how amazing she felt. it was physically and emotionally incredible in all regards. It wasn't like sunlight. This was something different. She said it's hard to compare it to anything else because she'd never felt anything like this before. Tingly is the closest word she could think of to describe it. But really, it just felt like anything negative was just melted away. The couple seemed to sense that Alex hadn't been there before based on her reaction to the light, and explained that as good as she felt, she couldn't stay there forever, that they only come there occasionally, and that they correlated their visits with the moon phases. Alex took this to mean they visited this place regularly, probably once a month, but they could only come here every once in a while. There was no staying. She didn't know exactly how they were able to come and go, but assumed they must be able to access this place through some sort of meditation or some sort of practice that took them there. She asked them where the light was coming from. They explained that that's why they come here, for the light, but they didn't know where it came from. And Alex wondered if maybe it was something they weren't really supposed to know, that maybe it was somehow beyond their comprehension. Alex said she wasn't even sure if they were all speaking aloud to one another or if they were somehow communicating telepathically, because there seemed to be a lot of understanding one another without words. Like how when she was standing behind them, she felt like she knew that this was something they do and had been here before. It seemed like there was some sort of unspoken communication happening in this place, and just a sense of knowing things without a concrete reason as to why. The one thing she felt she knew for certain was that this place, all of this, was real. And it made her wonder what else is out there that she didn't know about. She always believed in spiritual things, and this whole experience was very affirming of that for her. Quote, "There's no question now, there's real stuff happening that we just don't know about." End quote. The three of them were still standing in front of the mirror, basking in this amazing feeling. Alex said she kept touching her face and rubbing her arms, touching where the light was hitting, just blown away by the feeling and wondering how this was possible. Then she started to notice that she could sort of see more of her surroundings than just the never-ending darkness. She said it was like looking through a really tinted car window, and she got the sense that they were suspended above things. She couldn't see everything clearly, but she could tell they were over somewhere tropical. She could make out palm trees and a beach. She could see the green of the leaves and the blue of the ocean water. But again, it was like it was tinted. She said it definitely didn't seem or feel like it was Los Angeles, though. And with the same sense of knowing things, without a reason as to why, Alex felt like she was somehow seeing where this couple was in the real world. She started to wonder if they could see her in her bathroom in her little Los Feliz apartment. They all just stood there in silence in front of the mirror, feeling the light, but there was no obligation to talk. They were all just contentedly enjoying the moment. It didn't feel like they were there for very long, maybe 30 minutes at most. Then, just as suddenly as she arrived in that place, she was abruptly back in her bathroom in Los Angeles, still standing in the exact same place an inch away from the mirror. Alex said there was no tunnel vision, no seeing stars, or things fading away. Quote, "It was like snapping your fingers, and then suddenly I was back just as quick." End quote. When she looked out the bathroom window, she noticed it was much darker outside. So she looked at her watch to check the time and realized that 3 hours had passed. She'd felt like she'd only been in that place for maybe a half an hour tops, and at the time, it seemed as though time had been passing normally. She couldn't believe it had been 3 hours, especially since she wasn't exactly in a comfortable position. She was literally still leaning over her sink, and standing in a position like that is hard to do for an extended period of time. If she'd been doing that for 3 hours, she should have been sore from standing there for so long. But she wasn't at all. It just didn't make sense. And somehow that made less sense to her than going to a different realm. She said it didn't equate at all. And that's when she finally got scared for the first time. She immediately grabbed a notebook to write everything down. She said she was shaking so much as she wrote that when she looked back at her writing, it looked like chicken scratch. But she wanted to get everything down as quickly as possible while it was still fresh in her mind. She was worried if she didn't, her brain would just try to explain it all away. After she finished writing everything she could remember down, she called her friend Annie. She had to tell someone what had just happened. And Annie was the type of friend that Alex knew she could tell absolutely anything to, and she wouldn't judge her. Annie believed her, but didn't know what to make of the experience either. Alex had calmed down by that point and just went back to her quilting project. But she still had that lingering euphoric feeling, not only from being in the light, but also from the realization that there's so much more possible in the world than she was aware of before. She hoped the feeling didn't go away because no matter how confusing it was, quote, it was amazing, end quote. She went to bed that night with the feeling that there were limitless possibilities, end quote, like we're all magic, end quote. After this experience, Alex said she could still feel this other version of her above in this other realm. Quote, it felt like when you're a kid and you have a balloon tied around your wrist. The sensation, you can feel it bobbing around. I had that feeling, end quote.
Fascinating.
Right? So strange. I don't know what to make of this, but I love it. And I think it's so nice and sweet. And I want to go here. Take me to the light.
Same.
Alex kept thinking about how when she could sort of see beyond the darkness and saw the palm trees and everything, that she was looking at all of that from above. And she couldn't shake the feeling that this place is still just right above us. When she asked her coworkers about the event that was supposed to happen that night, they all said there was no event. It wasn't canceled. It apparently just never existed. Quote, it's never made sense, end quote. Alex wondered if maybe she had jumped into another timeline somehow, one where that event never existed. As for how she got to that strange mirror realm, she thinks that her quilting must have put her in the right meditative space to access it, since she had the sense the couple had gotten there through meditating. Although, as the host, Jack Wagner, points out, Alex wasn't actively meditating at the time. She had just taken a shower, walked around her neighborhood, washed her face, and then this happened out of nowhere. He said, quote, the types of meditation that can make you experience the feeling of being transported to a different place, or anything even remotely close to that, are ones that take years of practice and focus. A lot of dedication to get anywhere close to that. Something like that might happen deep in a meditation, but I have never heard of somebody getting transported to a mirror realm for 3 hours out of nowhere, end quote.
Mm-hmm.
Alex said, quote, whatever this place was, I think it's definitely someplace real. It exists just like we're here existing. And maybe we're all connected to it at all times in just a way that we're unaware of, end quote. She also believes we all have the ability to access the healing light she experienced, just not on a conscious level. She doesn't know if she's even supposed to really understand what that place was or the light, but said it has definitely affected her in a positive way. She's continued to lead a normal life, but as someone once told her, quote, once there's a crack in that wall, there's no closing it, end quote. And that's how she feels. She now knows for certain that there's more going on than we're aware of, but said she's not actively trying to find an explanation. Quote, I'll know more when it's time to know, end quote. Alex feels as if this experience was a gift, and she's not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. Quote, now I know, without a shadow of a doubt, that there's way more going on than I'll ever know. And that's cool to me, end quote. And that is the story of the time Alexandra traveled to and met a couple in an unexplainable mirror realm.
That is so fascinating.
Right?
And the only thing I can imagine is that while it takes everyone else, like, you know, years of meditation and practice and all that, it's just something that's very easily accessible for her.
Yeah.
That just something like looking in a mirror, she can get in a trance and that's it.
And it's interesting to me. I did a little research on this. Like the idea that mirrors are portals into another realm, that idea has been around for a very long time. Like ancient Egypt,
Yeah.
Mayans, like think that mirrors and like reflective surfaces like water are a portal to somewhere else. Like even in feng shui, practitioners believe that mirrors change like the flow of qi and you have to put them in certain areas. So I don't know, but I've never heard of a story like this.
Yeah, and for it to be so sudden.
Yes.
Like I've definitely heard things like in meditation or like breath work and stuff like that, that like you'll see things, or like even people who've passed on, or stuff like that. But mirrors are interesting. There is a bit of a trance like thing, if you like, that idea, like if you ever like look in a mirror like really like long enough, that like your face isn't like your face anymore, and it's just like shapes, and it's
Yes.
a weird like thing, like it's a dissociative thing. It's very fascinating to me, but like
Yeah,
I can also see like how that could happen, if that makes any sense.
it does. Like it seems crazy and far-fetched, but like is somehow plausible to me. Like I totally don't disbelieve this.
Yeah.
But yes, very strange, but like very sweet and uplifting. And like I want to know more about this little like couple that just seems to like go there together and
Yeah,
hang out. That just seems so sweet and beautiful. And I love it.
I love that. Thank you so much for the story. I've never heard of this happening in this way, I guess,
Same.
if that makes sense.
Yes. Again, this is why this has stuck to me for so long. Like I've heard so many cryptid stories and ghost stories and, weird Ouija board stories, but like just looking into a mirror and then going to this weird dark nothingness space with another mirror inside of it and like this light that is very healing. This sounds like a drug trip, I'm going to be honest, but like obviously I don't think that's what this is.
I mean, there are meditations that I've done that are essentially this, that you like, you're in a void and you see a light and you go towards the light and the light feels so warm, and like it's and it's all
Oh,
encompassing, and and you see. Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
But it's like guided meditations where like that's what they're telling you,
Yeah.
yeah.
But maybe there's something to that then.
Yeah, if you're trying to like manifest maybe like a person, like hearing from a person, then you like see the person, from far away, and you call them and they keep getting closer to you, and then like allegedly like an hour later you'll get a phone call from them or something like that. But that
Fascinating.
thing of seeing a light and being in a light, in a warm light, and being like connected to source energy, it is a common thing that you see in meditations regarding manifestation.
Interesting. Okay. I did not realize that. I'm not a meditation girly.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not your jam
I like
at all.
crafts. That's
Yeah.
my meditation.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Okay. I feel like that almost gives this a little more credence, the story.
Yeah, that instead of needing to get into that space, she somehow was able to just instantaneously get there on her own.
Yeah. Witchy powers. I'm throwing it out there.
Girl, yes.
I don't think it's just the quilting. I can't give the quilt all the credit for this, as much as I would love to.
I mean, it isn't like, for instance, Catholics have a rosary, right? And it's 10 prayers, 10 Hail Marys, and then Our Father and Glory Be, and it's 5 times, right? But the thing that people don't realize is the point of that is the repetition of it is to enter a meditative state for prayer and like communing with God and Jesus, and and all that. That's actually what that is.
Interesting. I thought it was just to count the prayers, Monique.
This is the problem. Lots of people do, and they don't realize that's what it's actually for. It's to get into that elevated meditative state
That
to
makes more sense. Yes.
commune with God, right? So if you're doing like a repetitive action like quilting, I can see how you could enter a meditative state and maybe even not realize it if you're in flow state.
100%. So fascinating to me. All right, I got to get into quilting. I want to go to this. I'm going to go to this healing light. Sounds awesome.
Thank you so much for that story. That was so fascinating.
Oh my gosh, of course. Something, little weird, little lighthearted though. Hopefully a little like uplifting. And on that note,
yeah, I think we're going to need it.
Oh no. Oh no. Monique. Okay. I'm ready. Ready for the trauma. Let's go.
It is the true crime portion of the show.
It is the true crime portion of the show.
It's very fucked up.
Yay.
Yay. Quick trigger warning at the top. There are mentions of suicide in this, and then like it's crime, it's the true crime portion, everything else that comes with that. So, sources: Wikipedia, bellcitysports.wordpress.com, the Police Activity YouTube channel, the report from the State of Connecticut Office of Inspector General, policeone.com, apnnews.com, cnn.com, cbsnews.com, bu.edu, which is Boston University, patch.com, the Obscura podcast, and a source that I will reveal at the end.
Ooh, secret source. I love it.
20 miles southwest of Hartford lies the city of Bristol, Connecticut. With a population of approximately 60,000 people, Bristol has a small town vibe. In the 19th century, the suburban city was known for its clockmaking, to the point where by the early 1800s, nearly all of the town's skill and capital revolved around the clock business, leading to related industries like brass, springs, bearings, and hardware. Bristol became a bustling factory town that attracted people from all over looking for work. However, in the late 70s, the factories closed down, leaving most of the blue-collar town without jobs or their union benefits. Senior writer for the Rolling Stone, Paul Solotaroff, said, quote, "Bristol becomes a place that time had forgotten. The one thing that gave this town any energy was its high school football teams." End quote.
Oh, goodness.
Mm-hmm. And considering that Bristol also serves as the headquarters for ESPN, it's unsurprising that the small town is sports obsessed. Every Friday night during football season, the entire town shuts down and the close-knit community goes down to watch their favorite high school team play. It's literally Friday Night Lights, but in Connecticut instead of Texas. And just like in Friday Night Lights, the high school football players in Bristol were seen as local legends, rock stars, not just to their fellow students, but to the community at large. They were known to receive special treatment around town and at school from their teachers. Whenever football players had to go to study hall on a game day, it was common for the teachers to be like, "It's a game day. We really don't care what you do. Just be back in time for your next class." And they'd turn a blind eye while the players would skip class and do whatever they wanted. This sense of superiority and lack of accountability often bled into the players' home life, with parents allowing their sons' bad behavior because they were a football star. Unsurprisingly, they learned that they could do whatever they want.
I hate this already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're going to hate it a lot, girl.
Yep. I can already tell.
Yep. They learned that they could do whatever they want and get away with whatever they want and face zero consequences. Among these entitled assholes was Nick Butcher. Nick Butcher was born in February 1989. He was the oldest of 4 boys and grew up in Bristol, where he attended Bristol Central High School. In addition to being on the varsity wrestling team, from 2004 to 2005, he played on the Bristol Central varsity football team. Nick, who was large for his age, was your typical jock in that he was an asshole and a bully. He was a bigger kid who was known to throw his weight around and get into fights at school. He had aspirations of becoming a stand-up comedian, so he fancied himself a class clown. However, he wasn't particularly funny, as his quote-unquote edgy humor consisted primarily of racist jokes, dead baby jokes, and mocking people with disabilities.
Oh, no, dude.
And while his classmates laughed, they did so more out of fear and appeasement than amusement. You see, Nick was very intense and impulsive, and this combo frequently led to violence and explosive outbursts, which I guess is ideal for the game of football. I don't know. I don't really watch it. And Nick Butcher was by far the most aggressive member on the team. He always went 100% during the game, in practice, and even on the field. Bristol Central defense tackle from 2002 to 2006, Dominic DeAngelis said, quote, "In the locker room before the game, Nick Butcher would pump himself up by headbutting other players on the team. He
Oh,
would smash his head in the locker when he got amped up. Like he was all just go, go, go kind of thing," end quote.
you're already getting enough head injuries. You don't need that.
Correct, Amy. That's correct.
Save it for the field.
Yeah, 100%. Or just don't do that. Just don't
Yeah,
subject
I
yourself
mean,
to
yes,
repeated head injuries. Please and thank you.
correct.
Dominic recalled an incident where Nick headbutted him during practice. Dominic said, quote, "I understand you're getting amped up, but this is overkill, dude. There was no holding back. When he was doing something, it was all or nothing," end quote. Nick was the biggest hitter on their team, to the point where his helmet literally had chips and gouge marks all over it from the repeated brutal hits he made on opposing players. It was a point of pride for him.
Oh, no. You need therapy. You don't need sports.
And this is like your brain's still not finished cooking when you're in high school. You know, like none of like these things are not formed yet, and you're just putting trauma after trauma after trauma on it.
Yep.
Nick Butcher and Alex Ring were the leaders of the Bristol Central 2004 varsity football team, and they kind of had a good cop, bad cop dynamic. Alex Ring was reserved and no nonsense. He was in AP classes and was described as very smart and goal oriented and was all about doing what needed to get done. Nick, on the other hand, was the fun one. He was outgoing, the wild child of the pair. But their teammates appreciated their dynamic, with one former teammate saying, quote, "Having different leaders, being able to motivate people in different ways was definitely how the team was able to be successful," end quote. And this wasn't a, "I just hope both teams have fun" type of deal. The Bristol Central football team was run like a business. Yeah, like it's not me being like, "I just hope everyone wins." Like, no.
Yeah.
Their head coach was an intimidating and intense state trooper named Douglas Pena, and he was very strict and very hard on the team. That former players recalled the vibe during practice was, quote, "We have to win," end quote. The pressure to win was bigger than ever when in 2004, the national spotlight was thrust on the small Connecticut town because of the new tight end on Bristol Central's team, Aaron Hernandez. At 13 years old, he was already 6'2", and his size, speed, strength, and skill at the game were at a level that hadn't been seen before in the town. He was so much bigger and faster than everyone else that when Aaron had the ball, he was impossible to bring down. Aaron was beloved by the town. His games were always packed. Everyone could see there was something special about this kid. They knew he was going to make it, and they wanted to be there to say that they'd seen him play way back when. Before long, Aaron was named one of the top players in the country. Again, in high school. He's like one of the top high school players in the country. Fucking crazy. Defensive end for Bristol Central from 2003 to 2007, Vinny Perez said, quote, "Every week, we felt like the pressure to win. People were going crazy in the stands because their team had a top 10 player in the country. Having that, you're expected to win. And then you have high expectations and high pressure from your teammates to win and from your coaches. It was definitely intense," end quote. And when they did, Bristol Central capped off their successful season with a 20-0 victory against crosstown rival Bristol Eastern in their annual Battle for the Bell Thanksgiving game, marking their third consecutive shutout victory in the rivalry. Nicholas Butcher graduated from Bristol Central in 2005. And while the following year, fellow teammate Aaron Hernandez was named Gatorade Player of the Year and recruited to play college ball for the Florida Gators at the University of Florida before being drafted to play professional football for the New England Patriots, Nick Butcher had a vastly different path after high school. For one, his time as a football star was over. It doesn't appear that he was recruited by any schools to play, so he didn't go to college. Shortly after graduating from high school, Nick tried to enlist in the Army but was rejected. That didn't stop him, however, from claiming he was an Army veteran later on in life.
Oh, gross.
And if that isn't fucked up enough, his parents, Joseph and Katrina, went along with the veteran lie because they feared upsetting their explosive son.
Okay. No. There's so many red flags. We're in a sea of red flags. No.
Girl, 90% off at the red flag store. Horrific.
No. Oh, this is so bad.
It's all so fucking bad.
Yep.
You don't even fucking know.
I don't, but just like none of this is good.
The writing's on the wall. 100%.
Does it say why he wasn't accepted to the Army or no?
No, I couldn't find that.
I'm assuming not passing the psych eval at this point because it's not looking good.
Yeah, I'm being like, you're fucking crazy and have anger issues.
Yeah.
Just as no one was going to tell him what to do when he was a popular jock back on the high school football team, adult Nick was bigger, meaner, and challenged anyone and everyone who got in his way, and had no problem laying hands on anyone who he perceived as giving him trouble. Eventually, Nick got a job installing liners in Plantsville, Connecticut, where he worked his way up to supervisor. He still worked on his stand-up routines, often attending open mic nights and posting videos on his Facebook. And spoiler, it's exactly the type of material you'd expect a white, entitled, wannabe alpha ex-football player who peaked in high school and has nothing else going on for him doing. In one uncomfortable video he uploaded to his Facebook page, you see he's in his car and he puts on an affected feminine voice saying that McDonald's was trying to gender his daughter by asking him if he wanted a girl toy or a boy toy with his Happy Meal. And his daughter, who's like 5 years old, is in the back seat and is clearly just really uncomfortable with the whole bit and just like, I just like Cinderella and I just wanted that toy. It's really uncomfortable.
Yep. Very cringe.
Speaking of Facebook, in addition to several obligatory white guy pictures of him holding a fish, in one instance, holding two.
That's how you know you're a real man, Monique. 2 fish.
There are so many pictures of him with guns.
Ugh.
It, like, everything is so textbook and so red flag central. It's,
I was literally just going to say, are we going to get all the red flags at this point? Like,
yeah, girl, sure are.
Oh, God.
Nick owned 14 guns, and many of his Facebook pictures feature him pointing the weapon directly into the camera, including a picture from his wedding day.
What?
Of him pointing a handgun straight into the camera, surrounded by the rest of his groomsmen who are also armed.
This sounds like a thing you would do in Florida. This is Connecticut, right?
Yes.
This is trashy. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know. This isn't cute. This isn't cool.
No, exactly. Apparently there's a lot of trashy spots in Connecticut, because I was thinking of Connecticut as like bougie and fancy, but apparently that's not the case.
Yeah, I guess makes sense. I feel like that's kind of everywhere.
Regardless, Connecticut can be perfect and gorgeous and wonderful in every way. This guy's just trashy and a piece of shit. And the worst.
Yeah. It's your wedding. Put the gun away, bro.
Put the fucking gun away, please and thank you. Also, like, the woman marrying him, I'm not putting anything, but it's like,
girl,
I'd really not be okay with my husband doing this.
No. If I got the photos back, I'd be like, did we seriously pay for this? Did we pay for you to do this? Like, no.
100%. Oh my God.
Oh God. Okay.
Girl. Despite these alarming pictures, he does appear to be happy in photos with his wife and children. A friend of Nick's described him as, quote, someone who, on the one hand, had a friendly way and was very sociable. He knew many people. On the other hand, he had a switch that could flip. He would drink and want to fight. No one wanted to be around him for that. Nicholas Butcher was someone with a complex personality. He liked guns and loved fighting. End quote. That is a really bad fucking combo.
Yep. That's the combo of a murderer. Gonna throw it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's a ticking time bomb. That's what the fuck that is.
Yeah. I don't know where this is going, but this has like Family Annihilator all over it.
There's no way for you to know.
Oh, God.
This is so fucked. There's no way for you to know where this is going.
Oh, my God. Okay.
So given that little tidbit, it's not surprising that in 2019, his wife divorced him and Nick found himself living in a small single-story house with his younger brother Nathan next to his parents' place. Also, unsurprising, Nick was a terrible influence on Nathan. Nathan, who was younger and smaller than Nick, followed his brother's lead, which usually resulted in Nick escalating a situation and the two brothers getting into physical altercations with other people, again, as full-grown adults. By 2021, Nick Butcher's life was in shambles. While he was still employed, he was living paycheck to paycheck and had mounting debts. According to his Experian credit report, he had 2 debts that were at least 180 days delinquent and a third debt in the amount of $2,116 that was in collection, and his wages had been garnished to pay an overdue $6,000 credit card bill. He was divorced and bitter, suffering from depression, alcoholism, and drug addiction. In December of 2021, he was prescribed the antidepressant Paxil. The medical note states, quote, patient complains of anxiety for past several years, which has been getting worse. Patient has been getting support from a psych app, and he was given a prescription of hydroxyzine, which did not help but made him really sleepy. Patient has panic attacks. He thinks that his work has increased his stress level, and he has gone through a divorce, end quote. After the divorce, Nick's ex-wife started dating one of his best friends.
Oh, no. This is fuel on the fire. This is all so bad.
There's so much kerosene on this fucking powder keg that it's real bad.
You're right. This is like literally every single box. This is like a cliche.
It really is. It really is. And to make matters worse, in early 2022, Nicholas learned that his ex-wife was pregnant with his friend's baby. This news caused Nicholas Butcher to spiral. He started drinking hard liquor 7 days a week and exhibiting seemingly random and violent behavior. I wish you guys could see Amy. Her head is in her hands because it's like, it is so, like if you were writing a character and you're like, what is the most cliche shit we could write for a bully? It's literally every single thing in this.
Yes.
Yeah, it's this.
A tale as old as time, Monique. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just waiting. Like, we're building. You keep adding powder to the powder keg, and like, I'm waiting for it to go off because like any fucking second now, this is a fucking nightmare waiting to happen. I want to go to the healing light, Monique. Take me away.
I'm sorry. There was an incident where Nick found his former best friend watching his children, and the former football player became enraged, screaming in his face, quote, "You're not better than me," end quote, and, quote, "She belongs with me," end quote. His former friend considered this a threat. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
And he had every right to, as Nick later told his younger brother, quote, "I'm just trying the hardest I can not to kill the guy," end quote. According to Nick's mother, Nick was still in love with his ex and was distraught that his former best friend had replaced him as the quote-unquote father of the household. Another likely contributing stressor to Nick's already fragile mental state was that it appears that he was struggling with his sexual identity.
Girl,
Check,
I
check, check,
can't.
check.
Literally, I
All of them.
can't. Okay.
All of them. Every single fucking one.
Yep.
As he had frequently installed and uninstalled Grindr, the gay dating app,
Oh,
on his phone where he would message men.
sweet baby. Just live your truth. Do your thing. Leave your fucking ex-wife alone. Like, there's no
Just
reason for
be
any of this.
gay.
It's
Just
great.
Be gay. Or be
It's
bisexual or
wonderful.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Get that dick. Highly recommend. Like, go for it.
Girl, no, it stands across the board if you get the right one. You know what I'm saying? Like, just be gay. So yeah, he would regularly install and uninstall Grindr, a gay dating app, on his phone where he would message men to hook up. And again, like, this is, for me, this is like the source of the like aggro male, gun obsessed, tough guy persona.
Yep.
You know, that he's cultivated his entire life, just like starts to make sense to me. That it was all a front to hide that he was attracted to men. And again, just be fucking gay. Who cares? And given that no one in his life knew about this, it's safe to assume that he kept deleting the app to keep his sexual proclivities a secret. Nick was in a really bad way. He was depressed and drinking heavily and smoking a lot of weed and doing a lot of coke. His friends and family said that Nick had become very morbid and increasingly spoke of suicide. Apparently, his morbid side found his way into his stand-up routine, which one friend described as, quote, dark and tasteless, end quote.
Yeah. Shocking to no one.
In addition to all this, Nicholas Butcher was also in a relationship with two separate women who didn't appear to know each other or know about each other. His relationship with woman one was the more serious of the two. She was his long-distance girlfriend and was wanting to move in with Nicholas and her two children. He was hesitant to have her move in, as he probably knew it would affect his ability to seek out relationships with men. Not only that, apparently Nick had gotten the second girlfriend pregnant, and her due date was around October of 2022.
I like just put my face in my hands and just like collapse down into my chair because like what?
Yeah, you like couldn't write it.
I'm like speechless. This is all the things. Like what a clusterfuck.
Even boxes you forgot about. It's like, girl, get that fucking Sharpie out. We're checking that shit. It's crazy.
Like if we were playing bingo, like I would have called bingo like 10 minutes ago. Yeah.
80 times. Yes.
The board is filled.
Oh, yeah. Yes. It's like, I need your board as well because mine's already filled and we're still filling it out, girl. It's crazy. On October 7th, Nick drunk texted woman one indicating that he wanted to hook up with a man, which I'm sure didn't go over great. That woman came into town the following day for the weekend. Based on their text messages, their relationship appeared to be volatile, hostile, and toxic. She stayed until October 10th, and basically as soon as woman one left, Nick messaged a man on Grindr for a date. On October 12th, 2022, 35-year-old Nicholas Butcher was having a day. His ex-wife was scheduled to be induced that day, and his long-distance girlfriend had been blowing up his phone all day, contacting him 151 times over the course of that single day. What the fuck?
Oh my God.
Girl.
I didn't even think that was possible. Like, you didn't have a job? You have nothing else to do? Like, this is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Nick needed to take the edge off. A local bar, Bleachers, was holding an open mic night, so Nick had planned to go and perform some of his stand-up to get his mind off of his ex. He and his brother Nathan first went next door to their parents' house to pregame, before arriving at Bleachers around 7 p.m. Nick sat at the bar and ordered a drink, while Nathan went to play pool. But Nick was so wasted that the bartender refused to serve him. While he was sitting there, another patron who had been playing pool needed change to continue playing, so he came up to the bar and stood next to Nick to ask the bartender for change. While he waited, he chatted with Nick, and on the security footage, you can see that he's very chatty and friendly with Nick, putting his arm around him, and Nick is facing away from the security camera, but he doesn't seem that he was super engaged with this person. Nick apparently told the patron to not touch him, and the patron was like, what? And then the two men started getting into it when all of a sudden, Nick violently elbowed the patron in the face. And you can see that the man, as well as everyone else in the bar, was just completely shocked by the unnecessary escalation. The bartender told both the men to stop or she was going to call the cops, and the patron said that they were going to take it outside. The two men walked towards the exit with Nick walking behind the patron, and they weren't even out the door yet when Nick got a cheap shot in, punching the man in the head from behind, knocking him to the ground through the door. The fight continued outside with Nick just beating the shit out of this dude and him just trying to defend himself. The bartender who followed the quarreling men outside called the Bristol Police Department and reported the fight. She then went back into the bar and told Nathan, who was playing pool and was completely unaware of what was happening, that his brother was in a fist fight in the parking lot and that she'd called the cops. Bristol police arrived at the bar at 8:52 p.m., where witnesses pointed out the Butcher brothers were driving away in a white truck. Officer Heron Pollock reported that he intended to stop the vehicle, while at the bar, Officer Monica Finkel went inside and spoke with the patron who had been attacked. When asked if he wanted to press any charges, he said no because Nick was drunk and, quote, besides, they were usually friends, end quote.
No.
Which is crazy. Again, he's like there's no accountability for anything that he's fucking doing. This guy like beat the fuck out of someone in a fucking parking lot. And it's like, no, we're friends though. It's fine.
No. I don't care how close we are. Like, if you assault me, you're going to get charged with assault.
100%.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Officer Pollock caught up to the truck and pulled the two brothers over. By the time Officer Finkel caught up with them, there were 3 more officers on the scene, in addition to Pollock and herself. And the Butcher brothers were extremely drunk, highly agitated, belligerent as fuck, and saying wild ass shit to the cops.
Which that's not who you fuck with. That's not who you say wild ass shit to.
Correct, Amy. That's fucking correct. After repeatedly degrading a rookie officer about his age, Nick says to him, quote, go over to Davis Drive. They will bend you over and fuck your ass until cum comes out of your eyes, you fucking gay F word, end quote.
I'm sorry, what?
And, quote, I'm going to bend you over and fuck you like your dog does, fucking gay F word, end quote. Yes.
Wow. Also, I think projecting like a lot.
10,000 fucking %. Actually. Yeah. Like crazy.
I'm speechless.
Girl, it's fucking crazy. So, okay. Throughout the entire exchange, which is all caught on body camera and goes on for like close to 30 minutes. It's crazy.
Oh my God.
He keeps insulting Officer Mark McGrain, bring up his height, saying shit like, quote, I'd love to be arrested by the fucking 5'6" guy, end quote. And saying that McGrain, quote, sucks his dog's dick, end quote, and, quote, licks his dog's cunt, end quote. And that they only gave him a dog because he's small. Like crazy shit.
I can't. Also, leave the dog out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. At one point, Nick tells one of the cops that if he complies with a certain command, quote, it's not going to make your short ass dick any longer, bro, end quote. To which the officer literally responds, quote, why are you talking about my dick, bro? End quote. Why indeed, Nicholas?
Correct, actually. Yeah. You seem like weirdly focused on the dick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
And just a reminder, this is a 35-year-old man who's behaving this way. And even though Nathan was also wasted, he was basically trying to de-escalate the situation the entire time and get his much larger brother in the car, asking the cops, quote, tell him, meaning Nick, to get in the passenger seat. Tell him to get in the passenger seat. He doesn't listen to me, end quote. At one point, Nick gets in one of the officers' face and says, quote, I got a job that makes money, not a fucking Bristol police officer. I go fucking lick at his dog. Go lick your dogs. And while he's like in his face, this officer like pushes the inebriated bully to the ground, but it's not like aggressive. It's very like almost like a love tap. And Nick like
Okay.
falls over and Nathan's trying to pick him up and Nick is screaming in pain on the floor. It's so over the top. It looks like soccer players when they're like, ah, like freaking out over and like no one touched them and it like they're making a whole fucking scene. Like this is what Nick is doing.
The fact that they have not tased this man already, like, I'm sorry.
Correct, Amy.
What? He should have been tased like 20 minutes ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Minimum arrested.
Oh, definitely arrested.
So Nathan's telling the police officer, quote, "See, bro, look what you did," end quote. And then Nick just like pops back up like he's fucking like Willy Wonka. And the cop goes, quote, "See, he's like a ninja. He is," end quote. And then like Nick is laughing and he and the cop high five and shake hands and they like hug like they're buddies. And Nick is smiling and he tells the cop to have a good night. And then he literally flips a switch and gets in the cop's face and tells him, quote, "I really want to hurt you right now, so back up," end quote.
You're tased, bro.
And again, in case it wasn't abundantly clear, like this footage is fucking crazy. Nick's behavior throughout, like he goes from almost being like calm and like with like playful banter to aggressive and menacing on the turn of the dime. And it's really fucking alarming. And as we've said throughout this whole thing, Nick is afforded a level of patience that basically does not exist if you aren't white and male. Anyone else that drunk and belligerent, mouthing off to the cops like this, would have gotten arrested in a fucking millisecond, tased like Amy's saying,
100%.
like in a second. And he's not. Oh, also, not sure if this is relevant, but the senior officer at the scene went to high school with Nick. So I don't know if that
relevant
has anything to do with this.
100%.
Because he's still the football star from, whatever.
No, he's not.
He's not.
A fucking piece of shit. Fucking aggressive drunk dude. Get out of here.
And throughout the majority of the scene, Nick was trying to get his older brother under control and back in the truck, even asking the officers for assistance, saying, quote, "Can you put him in cuffs?" End quote, to which Nick responds, quote, "No, you can't put me in cuffs. I've done nothing to be put in cuffs," end quote. You've fucking done plenty, sir. But at no point are the two men arrested or even given sobriety tests.
What?
It's fucking crazy. At no fucking point.
I'm just shaking my head in disbelief right now. It's like, I'm not surprised, but just this is insane.
It's fucking crazy. The cops discovered that Nathan, who was driving the truck, had an expired driver's license. So they had the truck towed. And again, not because he's very clearly wasted and driving drunk, not because Nick is wilding out, but because he was driving without a driver's license. So both Nicholas and Nathan were ticketed for creating a public disturbance, and Nathan was also given a ticket for operating a motor vehicle without a license. Nick, ever the asshole, threw his ticket on the ground and refused to pick it up, saying, quote, "Let's create a fucking real public disturbance, okay?" End quote. And then doing like Ace Ventura impressions and the whole like Einhorn is Finkel, Finkel is Einhorn thing, because one of the officers, who's a woman, by the way, is named Officer Finkel.
Bro, you're getting off so easy right now. You are getting the get out of jail free card of a lifetime. Say thank you and walk the fuck away.
Literally. No, he's belligerent towards the end, man.
Yeah.
In an effort to de-escalate the situation, Officer Finkel picked up the ticket from the ground and handed it to Nick, which he took. Because the two men needed a ride home, Officer Finkel called up their mother, Katrina, to come and pick them up. When Katrina got there, she picked up Nathan without incident, but Nick refused to get in his mother's car, saying that he was going to walk home and left on foot. And Katrina's just mortified. She scolded Nick, telling her belligerent eldest son, quote, "You're embarrassing me, Nick. You know our name in Bristol means a lot to us as a family. You're embarrassing your family. You're embarrassing our name," end quote. And can you imagine having grown adult sons and having to deal with this bullshit?
No.
But also I think she's kind of at fault as well for like allowing this wild ass behavior.
Yeah. I literally would have been like, you could take them to jail.
100%.
Like, those fuckers need to spend the night thinking about what they did.
They need to learn their lesson.
Yes.
She apologized to the officers for her son's behavior and told them that she was going to be taking Nathan home and that she would be coming back for Nick. When they passed bleachers on their way home, Nathan told Katrina that they had gotten into a fight at the bar. She dropped Nathan off at home and then returned for Nick. Back at the traffic stop with the truck, the tow truck driver arrived to take the truck and told Nick that there was a 48-hour hold on the car, to which Nick responds, quote, "No, there isn't. I'll see you in the morning," end quote. And the tow truck guy's like, okay. And Katrina came back and picked up Nick without incident. On the drive home, he continued being an asshole. He sarcastically told her that he was sorry, but he stretched out the word, saying sorry like a fucking child.
Ugh.
Like 35 fucking years old.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine this for a second.
No. I would be so disappointed.
It's disappointed and like horrified and exhausted and being like, I would have been like, take his ass to jail. Don't give a fuck.
Yeah, that this is your kid. Ugh.
Mm-hmm. Katrina was understandably pissed off at her son and told him that he was lucky that the police only gave him a ticket, to which Nick replied, quote, "I don't give a shit," end quote. Katrina and Nick got to his house around 9:30 p.m. Because again, all this is happening like pretty early at night. I thought it was like 3 a.m. It's like, no, they're this wasted, this early. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I need to remind everyone because this seems like Waffle House at 4 a.m. situation. It's not.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be like 2 a.m.
All this started going down at 7 o'clock.
Wow. Okay.
Katrina and Nick got to his house around 9:30 p.m. and Nick was talking to her about what happened and venting about the police. And Katrina had had it and told her eldest son that she didn't want to hear anymore and that she was going to bed. Nick got out of the car and told his mother, quote, "Good night, Mom. I love you," end quote. But Katrina drove off without saying a word, leaving Nick just standing there in the driveway.
Good for you, Katrina. I hope this is not the spark that lights the powder keg here. Oh, no.
Shame turned to rage, and after giving it some thought, Nick put on camo and body armor and loaded his guns.
Fuck. No.
When he finished, he called 911 and claimed that his brother Nathan had become aggressive after the incident with the police earlier that evening, that he'd been pushing Nick and was being aggressive with, quote, anybody that he had come in contact with, end quote. Nick told the 911 dispatcher, quote, "I don't want to fight my brother. He's just being very aggressive towards me at the current time, and I don't want to get him in trouble," end quote, and asked for police assistance. The dispatcher asked if Nathan was armed, to which Nick said no. None of this was true, of course. Nick was setting a trap. Immediately following the call at approximately 10:38 p.m., Sergeant Dustin DeMonte, Officer Alex Hamzy, and Officer Alec Laredo were dispatched to 310 Redstone Hill. As they approached the driveway, Officer Hamzy mentioned, quote, "I went to high school with this kid," end quote. When DeMonte, Hamzy, and Laredo arrived at the home, they encountered Nathan Butcher at the side door and ordered him to step outside with his hands up. As he came outside, Nicholas Butcher, who was hiding in bushes at the front of his parents' house next door, opened fire on all 3 officers with his AR-15. All 3 officers, as well as Nathan, were hit during the barrage of gunfire. Officer Hamzy fell, while the other 2 wounded officers managed to get away. Sergeant DeMonte went into the rear of the home, turned and encountered Nick's father, Joseph, then made his way back to the driveway where he collapsed. Meanwhile, Laredo, who had been shot in the leg, hid behind the house and radioed for help. He then made his way to Hamzy's parked cruiser in front of the property. After the ambush, Nicholas Butcher emerged from his hiding spot wearing a camouflage shirt, vest, and pants, and approached the 2 fallen officers. He stood over each officer and fired multiple shots into them.
What the fuck, dude?
Yeah. Nick's parents, who had come outside during the gunfire, watched in horror And you can hear his mother in the body cam footage screaming, like screaming for Nick to stop. But it's like the type of scream in a horror movie. It's just constant. It's almost like not human. It's surreal and it's fucking terrifying. And she's screaming the entire fucking time. At one point, Nick's AR-15 stopped firing. He had incorrectly inserted the magazine, so he switched to a handgun and continued firing at Laredo, who was hiding behind Officer Hamsey's police cruiser. And like I said, his mother is screaming bloody murder throughout this entire scene, and the shooting and the screaming goes on for what seems like forever. At some point, Nick yells out, quote, "How proud are you of me? How proud, Mom?" End quote. And he just sounds like an animal. It's like a fucking movie. It's so fucked.
Wow. That is chilling.
Mm-hmm. Officer Laredo heard what sounded like Nick was trying to reload his firearm. From his position, the officer could see the gunman was still in the driveway in front of the garage. Bracing himself against Officer Hamsey's police cruiser, Officer Laredo fired one shot, striking Nicholas Butcher at the base of his neck, killing him. When the ambulance arrived, they found 34-year-old Officer Alex Hamsey dead at the scene, and Officer Laredo had been severely injured in the leg. Nathan Butcher had sustained gunshot wounds to his right lateral thigh and left inner knee and was taken to St. Francis Hospital and admitted for treatment and discharged 2 days later. Sergeant Dustin DeMonte, on the other hand, was fatally wounded and transported to the hospital where he later died. The 35-year-old sergeant was a 10-year veteran officer and co-recipient of his department's 2019 Officer of the Year award. He and his wife were expecting their third child at the time of his death.
No.
Mm-hmm.
That gave me chills. This is so awful and like so avoidable. All of this was so avoidable.
Yep. And fucked. I'm like, how do I not know this? Because this is the craziest fucking thing I've ever heard of in my fucking life. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Police seized 4 guns from the scene, a Stag Arms AR-15, a Remington bolt action rifle, a Mossberg 12-gauge shotgun, and a Glock handgun Nick Butcher was holding when he was killed, and a fuck ton of ammo. Nick fired 83 rounds during the ambush and, quote, showed no signs of stopping, end quote. Nick's autopsy revealed his blood alcohol at the time of the shootings was 0.234, 3 times the legal limit to drive. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Go sleep it off. Get Taco Bell. Like, there's no, just like, what?
Mm-hmm. And remember, they didn't serve him at the bar. This is him drinking at home before going to the bar.
Yeah.
And his toxicology showed that he also had THC and cocaine in his system. The levels of these substances was high enough, especially when taken together, to induce psychosis, lower inhibitions, increased paranoia, delusions, and violent ideation. The Inspector General released a 66-page report which concluded that, quote, the numerous stressors in Nicholas Butcher's life, coupled with his heavy substance abuse and perceived grievance from the traffic stop, are probable motivations for his subsequent targeted act of violence against the Bristol officers. In this regard, it must be emphasized that Nicholas Butcher is the murderer here. It would be wrong to place any blame for the attack on the traffic stop officers or others in Nicholas Butcher's life, end quote. Nick's former teammate Dominic DeAngelis said of Officer Laredo, quote, that cop's the hero. I think if he didn't put him down when he did, and other cops showed up, more cops would have got killed, end quote. And it seems that all of Bristol felt the same way. In the days after the shooting, the town's residents replaced their white porch lights with blue bulbs to show their support for the Bristol Police Department. In 11 days, over $1 million was raised in support of the fallen officers and their families. During a Miami Dolphins game, the team honored Dustin DeMonte, who had been a lifelong Dolphins fan. Along with the Dolphins, the New England Patriots also paid tribute to DeMonte and Hamsey on Twitter. On October 21st, 2022, a funeral service was held for the fallen officers. Close to 10,000 law enforcement officers and supporters from all across the United States, even as far as Canada, came to attend. During the funeral service, Sergeant DeMonte and Officer Hamzy were posthumously promoted to lieutenant and sergeant. Connecticut Governor Ned Lamont attended the funeral. During his speech, the governor said, quote, "Lieutenant DeMonte and Sergeant Hamzy are heroes and served with integrity and courage. We will forever keep them and their families in our hearts," end quote. The service ended with a helicopter flyover and bagpipers playing Amazing Grace. On October 11th, 2024, the Bristol Police Department unveiled a memorial dedicated to the memory of the fallen officers, as well as the bravery of Officer Alex Laredo. And while the town of Bristol came together, they were absolutely rattled by the incident. Not just because of how insanely fucked the whole situation was, but because Nicholas Butcher was a member of the 2004-2005 Bristol Central varsity football team, the same team as future convicted murderer Aaron Hernandez. For those who don't know, in 2015, the star tight end was found guilty of first-degree murder for the 2013 murder of his future brother-in-law, Odin Lloyd, and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Aaron has been accused of 5 other shootings, including the July 16th, 2012 murders of Daniel De Abreu and Safiro Furtado, 2 immigrants from Cape Verde who were shot and killed in their car hours after running into Hernandez at a nightclub in Boston and spilling a drink on him. This allegedly infuriated the star football players, so the only reasonable thing to do was kill the 2 men in retaliation. I say allegedly because on April 14th, 2017, Aaron Hernandez was acquitted of that double homicide. While things from a legal standpoint were looking up for Hernandez, 3 days later, on April 17th, Aaron Hernandez was outed as having sexual relationships with men on the Kirk and Callahan sports radio show. 2 days later, Hernandez hanged himself in his jail cell with a bedsheet. And the most fucked up part of this story is that Nicholas Butcher isn't the second person from the 2004-2005 Bristol Central varsity football team to become a murderer, but the third.
Oh my God.
Remember Alex Ring, who co-captained the team with Nick?
Yeah.
Well, Alex had also not been doing well. He had been suffering from a lot of mental issues, and it was taking a toll on his marriage. Alex and Kayla had been together for a long time. They were high school sweethearts. So they tried to make it work, but it just wasn't. So after 6 years of marriage, Kayla filed for divorce, and Alex did not take this well. He felt like his life was over. So on June 4th, 2014, 26-year-old Alex Ring shot and killed his wife before turning the gun on himself. When police arrived at the scene, they saw divorce papers on the counter. There were certain things checked off in the document citing Alex's stability and mental health. Nick Butcher, Aaron Hernandez, and Alex Ring all played on the 2004-2005 varsity football team for Bristol Central High School. And all 3 teammates became murderers whose lives were cut short by either suicide or suicide by cop. There's a photo of the football team in the 2004-2005 yearbook, and all 3 of them are literally standing right next to each other, and it's fucking chilling.
Yeah, that just gave me chills.
People have asked what the fuck is in the water in Bristol that these 3 kids from the same team who had so much promise all ended up with the same shocking fate. And I think it's a multifold thing. I think growing up believing that you're better than everyone and you can do whatever you want and get away with it, and having that concept constantly reinforced by your parents and your teachers and the community around you is bound to warp your sense of reality and consequences. And you have the toxic masculinity thing that is inherent in the sport, that you need to be tough and aggressive and a man. And I think that with Nick Butcher and Aaron Hernandez, who were attracted to men, that put them at odds with what they believed a man to be. So they felt the need that they had to double down on the whole aggro alpha persona. Then there is the brain trauma from playing football.
Yeah.
CTE, or chronic traumatic encephalopathy, is caused by repeated head trauma and results in poor judgment, lack of impulse control, aggression, anger, paranoia, emotional volatility, and rage behaviors. Now, the only way to be diagnosed with CTE is to have your brain examined after you died. And it doesn't appear that Butcher or Ring had their brains studied, but Aaron Hernandez did. Dr. Ann McKee, a CTE expert and director of the Boston University CTE Center, examined Hernandez's brain and found him to have the worst case of CTE she had ever seen in someone his age. Sam Gandy of Mount Sinai Hospital in New York said, quote, "It's impossible for me to look at the severity of CTE and Mr. Hernandez's brain and not think that that had a profound effect on his behavior," end quote. Again, we don't know for sure if Nick Butcher had CTE, but he was known as the most aggressive player on the team, who banged his head into his locker and would headbutt teammates to psych himself up for a game.
Yep.
Whose helmet was riddled with gouge marks from all the hits he had accrued on the field. His former teammate, Vinny Perez, said, quote, "There's no way you take that much of a beating over a sustained amount of time and that much head trauma, and it doesn't affect who you are," end quote. And maybe it just wasn't one thing that drove these three men to murder, but a combination of all of the above and then some. Either way, Dominic DeAngelis said, quote, "I think they put a big dark cloud over Bristol. I think it's going to take a very, very long time for it to go away, just because of them being local kids doing what they did," end quote. And that is the story of former high school football star Nick Butcher, who ambushed police with a fake 911 call. And the additional source is the documentary Aaron Hernandez and the Untold Murders of Bristol.
Oh my God. I was not prepared. You were correct.
No.
That's insane. I obviously knew about the Aaron Hernandez thing, and I thought that's what the story was for a minute. I did not realize everything else.
That he had two more teammates who were also murderers?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
What the fuck, dude? That was horrifying, but fascinating. I had never heard that before. I can kind of see why now, because I'm sure it gets overshadowed by the Aaron Hernandez story, but
exactly. Right.
I'm like speechless. That's fucking...
Yeah.
We don't need to be putting these kids in this very violent sport where they can get life-altering head injuries at a young age before their brains are fully formed. We don't need to be putting grown adults in this personally, but
100%. And it's even a thing of like, it just takes one hit.
Yeah. Yep.
It gets worse, but it really just takes one.
Yeah.
You know?
Like so many times you hear serial killers have that one terrible head injury as a kid, and then that's fucking fucks up your frontal lobe. Like
that's it.
Your personality is completely different. Yep. So scary, dude. That's so terrifying.
It really is. And I can't believe that this happened so recently. Bristol's only 100 miles away from Connecticut. I can't believe I haven't heard of this. And again, I understand because, like, you know, Aaron Hernandez overshadowed the whole situation, but this is fucking crazy.
No, that's way crazier in my opinion. Like, what the fuck?
I think if you had 3 future murderers in your school at the same time, those odds are fucking nuts.
Yeah.
So that it's not even just your class, it's your football team.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Also, like, check in with the rest of the team. Maybe get everybody some therapy. You know, throwing it out there.
Yeah. And be gay. Just be gay.
Yeah. It's great. There's nothing wrong with that. Live your truth. Live your life. Enjoy that dick.
And if you're around people who are not into it, or like, you know, family, whatever, then be like,
fuck them.
Fuck you very much.
Get out of my life.
Thank you. Move to Hell's Kitchen. Move to the Village. Move somewhere cool and just live your fucking gay life.
Yes. Thank you. Facts. Thank you so much for that story. I'm reeling. I'm going to be thinking about that one all week. That's insane.
Yeah, it's really fucked up. I loved your story and I love you. Oh my God. I'm also going to be thinking about your story in a much different way, obviously.
Okay, good. I'm glad I did this one now because I feel like we needed a little palate cleanser before.
Yes, 100%. Thank you so much for that.
Of course,
so
thank you.
Needed and appreciated. So if you're traumatized, go back and listen to Amy's story and try and find the mirror plane. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we're so obsessed with you. Thanks so much for listening. This is Another Fucking Horror Podcast. I'm Monique Sanchez.
And I'm Amy Traden.
You can find me on the gram at PinUpGirlMo.
You can find me at Lobotomy, and that's Lobot.Amy.
Check out our website, anotherfuckinghorrorpodcast.com. There you can get tickets to see us live in New Orleans in a few weeks. You can also get access to our Patreon exclusive episodes and, some sexy ass merch, which we got, which is super fun. But most of all, remember to keep it cute.
Keep it creepy. Bye.
Bye.